What's up, everybody? We got a Madrid fan and a Barca fan from the USA in the chat. Today, September 7th, 2022, the return of the Champions League, the
Yo,
tournament,
yo.
this tournament that separates the real from the fake in Europe. So let's get right into it. Let's start with Group A. Ajax, Napoli, Liverpool, and Rangers. Only one place to start this one, dude. What the hell is going on with Liverpool? 4-1 smack by Napoli.
I have no idea what's happening with Liverpool. I thought that at the very least they had started to kind of figure it out because they had a rough start in the league as well. But then, they kind of bounced back. But I don't know, man. And it's weird because Liverpool is one of those teams that at its core is it's pretty similar to the team that won the league, won the Champions League, did great. They had the best defender in the world, but now they don't look good, and I don't know.
I got some theories.
I have the only thing I can think of is kind of similar to what happened with Tottenham, that it's same group of players for a lot of years, same training regimen, same coach, same everything, and I don't know, maybe the other teams have kind of figured them out, caught up a little, but at the same time, you don't see the same quality coming from players like Van Dijk or Trent or Salah, Sane. Sane's not there anymore, but even Luis Diaz, who seemed to be breaking onto the scene last year, the first few games that he was in the second half of the season, hasn't been doing much either. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you think is going on.
No, Luis Diaz for me was the only player today that had a respectable performance. Everybody else was complete trash.
But it's still not exactly what it was last season.
No, and this is the thing. I think it comes down to two main points, right? Number one, everyone thought Salah was the most important person on Liverpool. It's been Mane this whole time. Mane is the main dude. Salah is not the guy that can put the team on his back. I know he did it like a couple seasons like in the Premier League, but really Mane for me was the catalyst of this team that could like put the team on his back and win games alone. And then I think the second point that is really hampering Liverpool right now, and I have no idea how they fix this or if it's even possible. Last season, they played every possible game that they could because they went to the final of the Champions League, final of the FA Cup, final of the Carabao Cup, and then obviously you have to play all your league games. So every possible game that was available for them to play was played. And then we had a short summer because we had the UEFA Nations League, so a lot of the players didn't get as much rest. I think they're just burned out and they're aging a lot, and I don't think Klopp has done a great job refreshing the team. You said something about teams figuring them out. I think there's an element of that too. When you go play Liverpool, at this point, you know what's coming. So you're able to set up in a way to counter that. And those are the main factors, I think. Liverpool's in a real rough spot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I fully agree with the Salah and Mane point. I think there were plenty of times where Sane was out. And,
Mane, not Sane.
Sorry, Mane. But that's what I meant. That Mane was out, or there was plenty of times where he wasn't having a good stretch on the year, and it was Salah the one that brought them through, pulled them out, and still was scoring goals. I mean, he had some really great seasons for Liverpool, and he had better years than Mane did.
But in a vacuum, though, if you have to pick one player like to throw the team on their back, I feel like Salah, he puts up crazy numbers a lot because he benefits from especially when like when Alden was on the team and when it was Mane and Firmino was in his prime, all the work that was happening around him and the service from Robertson and Trent. I feel like Salah was the main beneficiary of all that work. Like as a standalone player, I don't think like he wasn't putting up numbers like this when he was at Roma, for example.
There's a reason he went back to Liverpool, because after he left Chelsea, where he wasn't really given a chance, he went back to Roma and killed it.
Yeah, so I think Salah is more. He was the beneficiary that he landed at the right
No, I'm
spot,
talking
place at the
about
right time.
Salah. I'm talking about Salah. There's a reason why he ended up on Liverpool after seemingly failing out of the Premier League at Chelsea.
What did
He
I
went
say,
back to
Mane?
Roma.
I meant to
Well,
say,
I'm
yeah,
saying he went back. He went to Roma and killed it, and then he went back to Liverpool on the cheap, and then also proceeded to kill it. Like and honestly, as an overall player, I would argue that Salah was better than Mane. He assisted more. He was more technical on the ball, in my opinion, than Mane was. Better finisher, maybe not quite as fast, but speed was still something to be reckoned with. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that part of it, but I will say that when it comes to all the other things that you said, I do agree. And I agree that burnout is definitely part of it. There was and like I said, it happened with Tottenham the year that they made it all the way to
the final with
the final,
Pochettino.
yeah, the final, and then lost. Pochettino had been the coach for a very long time, and they had quite a few very good years with the same core team, not too many new signings. And I mean, I don't know if Klopp is like this, but apparently one of the things is, Pochettino is a very strict coach. And so, after finally achieving like this long project of getting to the Champions League final, and then not winning, not having a league trophy, which is a big deal, especially in the EPL. I think players just kind of really felt that this isn't kind of where I want to be anymore. And Tottenham had a few rough years after that, so I
You
could see that happening with Liverpool easily.
yeah,
Again, I don't know. Go ahead.
you definitely need like to refresh. And I
Right.
think the only players that Liverpool have brought in really is like Luis Diaz, Darwin Nunez, and that's about it. Like
Yeah.
the rest of the lineup that and Harvey Elliott is kind of like this young kid, but you can't put like the responsibility of winning the
Right.
Champions League on
Yeah,
him.
he's
Like,
good, but yeah, I agree. You can't expect him to be the guy that's going to drag you out of wherever you are.
dude, like look, their starting lineup was Diaz, Firmino, Salah, Milner, Fabinho,
But
Harvey
Milner's the
Elliott.
only one that scored, isn't he?
No, it was Diaz. Luis
Okay.
Diaz. Luis Diaz was the only one that played good. And like Trent is a liability at this point on the defense. He cannot be trusted on the defense. I don't know what the heck happened to Van Dijk. He has not like ever since he reached his peak with the year, when they won the Premier League that one year and the Champions League final, that's when Van Dijk was at his peak. I haven't seen that Van Dijk since then.
Me
Joe
neither. And
Gomez was a complete brick on the back line. Like did on the I think it was the third goal where the guy, what's his name? I don't even know how to say his name, Kavar Stakelia or whatever. But when he burned Trent, Joe Gomez on the same play
yeah,
down the wing, and then I don't know, Van Dijk wasn't defending.
no, I agree. And if you look at cuz I was watching kind of like a few of the games, and if you look at all the goals that Napoli scored today, almost all of them were defensive errors, except for maybe the last one. I don't know. I don't remember if it was the third or the last one, but where like Allison kind of fumbles the ball back into play. But other than that, you can really, really kind of nail it down to the defense. And I mean, of course, you have to include the whole team. They got down the field, past the midfield and whatnot, but especially like you said, at those fullback positions, and it seemed like they were coming down on Trent more than they were on Robertson. So, yeah, I don't know how exactly Liverpool got to where they are, but it's weird to see this pretty much the same team, fall this far. And I don't know how they come out of it, but they have to if they want to, be back in Champions League next year because, whether it's uh every other week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, if these kinds of performances keep happening, it doesn't look good for them.
The other thing too that I would say really is not a good look for Liverpool right now is the fact, Man City went and signed Haaland, and then Liverpool had to counter with a big signing at the top, and they got Darwin Nunez. So far, Darwin Nunez is looking like kind of a flop right now. I know it's still early, but they're if Liverpool is going to turn the season into somewhat of a success, Darwin Nunez is gonna have to, start performing and banging in goals, which he
Yeah.
hasn't so far.
Yeah, and I mean it's actually interesting that a player who had fallen out of favor at Liverpool, Roberto Firmino, is now back to starting, back to
I
being
mean,
their number one option. And I
there's no
mean,
real choice, I would
no,
say.
I know that, but that's kind of what I'm saying. I agree with you. Is that they and I kind of disagree with this mentality where it's like, okay, well, one of our rivals got a big signing, so we have to too. But if you're gonna try to compete, at the highest level, you have to do it's not just about making a big splash. So many players spend, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, and then some of these players just end up, not being worth it even close. As a Barca fan and their poor financial decisions over the last 3-4 years, I can tell you firsthand, like seeing Barca spend over $100 million on three players, and then only one of them is working out now, Dembele. The other two are not even on the team anymore. It's frustrating to see, and it kind of seems a little desperate to think that money's going to solve all your problems. But back to what I was saying is the fact that Firmino is back to being your number one striker when you, the coach, had him on the bench for a season, 2 seasons, coming off the bench. Yeah, it's definitely not a good look. It's as if Madrid had to, and I mean it's not even close, but it's like as if Madrid had to be starting like Diaz or Jovic at the number 9 when they obviously, after being there for years, don't get the job done.
This is all I'm saying. Like last year,
And I know it's different, different clubs, different amount of money
this
spent
is
on
why.
these players, but it's
But Liverpool had to, because look, think about it this way. Man City just beat you in the league. The Man City had 93 points and Liverpool had 92 points. And then Man City goes out and buys the best striker available on the market. So they already beat you last year and they're improving. So how can you realistically expect to beat them this year if you don't go out and splash and make a splash of your own? So I feel like Liverpool was kind of forced into buying Darwin Nunez,
sure.
and
But my point is that like they're spending uh such a big amount of money on a maybe. Like if you're
yeah,
gonna spend big, go get someone that is gonna get the job done, uh, instead of someone like Darwin Nunez, who as great as he may be, he's very young, and you're just all of a sudden putting such a heavy weight on his shoulders. A lot of players crumble under that pressure, sometimes, and especially when they go to a club that's as big as Liverpool. Sometimes, that badge is heavy on their chest and they can't live up to it. We know plenty of players that have gone, um, make big money moves into a big club, haven't really been able to cut it, go to a smaller team, and then they go kill it. So, to to spend that much money on someone that isn't a certainty, and I'm not saying that Holland was a certainty, but on paper he pretty much was already at this point.
but
Like
also,
if you were ever gonna go spend like exorbitant amounts of money on a young striker, it was gonna be Holland, and I think any club would be willing to do that if they were financially able.
yeah, but also like the way that you end up spending so much money on Darwin Nunez is because the Premier League has kind of done this to itself, by paying these ridiculous prices for
True.
players and inflating the market value of everybody. That's how you end up having to put out so much money for Darwin Nunez. And you're right, he's an unproven player. It's different if you're gonna put like 20 mil on an unproven 19-year-old, that could be a worthwhile investment, because if he blows up, then you really only spend 20 mil. But when you drop, upwards of 80 mil And you're right, it's unproven like Darwin Nunez was. I mean, he killed it in the Portuguese league, but that's not a direct translation into the Premier League whatsoever. It is risky business right there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that you have to also look at where these players are coming from. Like you said, the Portuguese league, it's not something to shake a stick at, but also at the same time, is that the best competition that they're seeing out there? They've been there for, however long they've been there. So they kind of know the league. They're coming up. Like I said earlier, it's a smaller club. The badge isn't heavy. Um, and yeah, when Man City went out and bought Holland, and I actually think that Holland is a smart young man because he could have gone and made the big money move 2 years ago because people already wanted him, but he chose, I'm going to just take the next step up and go to Dortmund instead. And he's still playing against teams. It's not the most challenging week in week out, but he's still playing against teams like Bayern, and Dortmund is always in the Champions League, so he's getting that side of the competition there. So it's not like he's um, not having to perform against these big teams. Someone like Darwin Nunez has never really been tested in something like that, but Holland had been, and he produced. So it's a pretty safe bet if you're going for someone like Holland, and then yeah, like you said, going for it's kind of like, and obviously we'll get there eventually, but it's the same thing that we're kind of seeing with Chelsea right now. How um, they just made a huge money move on this kid Fofana, and then they lose 1-0 to a small club that everyone thought they were going to beat.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah, of course. No, I know we'll
Chelsea and
get there.
Fofana.
Yeah, we'll
But
get there.
one thing that you did say though is that, like you said, the Bundesliga, although it's not considered, as the greatest league in Europe, but this season people were asking the question about Lewandowski too. Like, was he only a predator in the German league? Would he do well in La Liga? And now Holland is killing it in the Premier League. So what are we saying about the strikers in the Bundesliga, man? Is that where you need to go for the primo strikers? Who knows? And then to make
I don't think so.
to make matters worse for Liverpool, Ajax smacked Rangers 4-0.
Ajax isn't like, they're not a bad team. They're always a good team, and it's fascinating to me. They constantly get all their young prospects just ripped away from them, for big money, but they keep churning out that talent with young kids, great players, great prospects. And whatever Ajax is doing, that club is unbelievably well run. And whatever they're doing is working, and they have no reason to stop what they're doing because they're always in the Champions League. Depending on the group, they more or less can get past the group stage depending on which group they're in. And I don't know, if it comes down to 1 or 2 points, this Liverpool loss is going to be a big deal, especially when
Goal
if
difference too.
exactly, especially, yeah, Ajax is up by 4, and Liverpool is down 4 in terms of
Down
goals against.
-3,
Yeah,
-3.
but in terms of goals against, I mean, just it's
And
that matters.
this was, I mean, one caveat, they played against Rangers, which I think is the weakest team in the group. I think everyone can agree on that. But this was supposed to be a weekend Ajax team as well, because they lost Eric Ten
Anthony.
Hag as their manager and Anthony, who was their big star. So also, side note, an American plays for Rangers, James Sands, on as a center back. So that 4-0 is not a great look for him.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, he's also on Rangers, so
yeah,
also not a good look for him.
Liverpool's next game is against Ajax at Anfield. I think this
I'll
is
be
a
very curious
must
to see
win.
how
It's a
they do
must.
there. Yeah,
Liverpool has to win this game
yeah,
because if they lose, Napoli is a huge favorite to beat Rangers in the next game. If Ajax beats Liverpool at their own house, they'll be in a 6-point hole and only 4 games left to go.
yeah, and they'll have played the two the
They would have played Ajax already at their home, and
and
then
Napoli.
and no, they played Napoli away, so Napoli would still have to come visit. They would have
No, but
they
what I was saying is that they would have already played the two hardest teams in their group once.
yeah.
So when if you drop points to them, and then they have each other and then the lesser team to play against, it's like you're already putting yourself in a really bad position.
Yeah, Liverpool needs to get a good result against Ajax, and then because the next two games will be Ajax versus Napoli back to back, they're going to play each other twice in a row. So then Liverpool has to clean up against Rangers 2 games in a row, and then one of like the two other teams will drop points to each other. Like they're going to drop points. So,
Right.
but they have to win this Ajax game, and it's at Anfield. They have to win.
Yeah. So do you think how much leeway do you think Klopp gets? I think he gets a lot.
Dude, if look, Man City. I mean, if the Premier League gets way too out of hand and they're falling way too far behind, and they don't make it out of the group of the Champions League, I don't know. I know Klopp just signed an extension though, so I think Klopp
Right.
has.
So how much leeway do you think he
Yeah,
gets?
Klopp definitely has a lot of built up goodwill, but if things are getting out of hand, I think he'll get at least he won't be sacked before the World Cup or anything like that. But after that, that's when things start to get real. That's how I see it.
And after that, things are going to get even tougher because of how little rest these players are getting, and they're playing a. Not only are they playing condensed schedule now, the World Cup is automatically a condensed schedule because you're doing a tournament in a month. They're going out playing different systems, getting used to different tactics, different coaches, different this, different that. So when you come back to your domestic leagues, not only do you have to get back in the rhythm of that, but you also have to deal with the R&R that is necessary after a tournament like that and such a condensed schedule, and they're not going to get it.